All right, half a day, and welcome to another episode, everyone. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching wherever that may be on KUAM TV 8, TV 11, maybe KUAM News on Facebook or YouTube. We appreciate it. And we've got a packed Zoom room, as you can see here. Joining me, a bunch of ladies here. We've got Kiana, Juliana, Stephanie, Haani, and Maria. And you're all representing Famalaoan Rights, which is an organization fighting for reproductive rights or reproductive justice. And I found you on Instagram, and I thought this is the conversation that we need to have, and I think a lot of people need to have, and just to get the proper information out there about what it is, how important it is to you personally, to the women of Guam and everyone else, even men, myself, as a married man or as someone who is trying to conceive or waiting or whatnot. This involves everyone and future generations. So let's have the talk. Maria, we will start with you. We wanted to talk about the organization itself in a little bit. We'll get to that. But the words I kept seeing were reproductive rights, reproductive justice. What exactly are those?
Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for having us here today. We really appreciate you providing us this platform to speak about Famalaoan rights. And so our mission, vision, and what we hope to accomplish as an organization and initiative is obviously reproductive rights and reproductive freedom for women, girls, and also for men on Guam. And when we think about reproductive rights or reproductive freedom, automatically, the first thing on my mind would be bodily autonomy, right? A person's bodily autonomy, their right to choose what he, she, or they would be able to do in terms of whether they want to start a family, not want to start a family, or if they're trying to make like a life-altering decision for themselves. And it's not an easy decision, a lot of the times when we think about reproductive justice and rights, we're thinking about abortion or we're thinking about contraception. And these are topics that we have been having, with Famalaoan Talks with Kiana recently on our IG Lives. And having these important discussions is something we want to bring within our communities and we think are valuable, and that would also keep our youth informed of what they can or, are able to do for themselves. I'm not sure.
And I think that's key, is having the discussion, because a lot of people,
Yes.
Well, our family has believed this for generations. This is how it's been done. Don't question it. But I think people need to have this conversation. Even, myself being a man, as I said, I don't have a uterus, so who am I to control someone else's? But having a conversation between men and women, between, parents and children, I think is key, and getting the information out there, because your opponents will have that negativity. As you mentioned, the ones that keep getting brought up is abortion, contraception, and sometimes they make it seem like you want to go around executing babies, which is far from the truth. But that's some of the tactics that the opponents will take. So you're trying to battle that disinformation and having the discussion. How do we start that? Anyone want to join in? Juliana, did you want to join in? How do we start having that discussion?
How do we start having that discussion? That's very difficult. So there, like you said, there's been this disinformation for a really long time. And Kiana, jump in. You have this topic going on our Instagram live feeds about, what are the actual facts? And we're starting with, we had some Instagram live talks last month, and we just, we're going with the basics like contraceptives. And then this month is sexual assault awareness month. So let's look at the facts about sexual assault awareness. Let's not blame the victim. Let's take these myths out of, and all of these, these stereotypical things that are thrown at us, and let's really dig deep into the facts. So we've been looking up, there are really good organizations out there like the Guttmacher Institute, Planned Parenthood, the CDC, the World Health Organization, that have a lot of great numbers about, medical abortion, that it is safe, and the numbers to those things. And so, the risks to medical abortion are actually very low. It's like 0.4% that things go wrong. 0.4% is actually a really low number. And, I'm a big numbers person. That's, I'm an engineer. So that means a lot when we're looking up, the safety of these contraceptives and these procedures. And let's look at them in a little bit more objective way so we can give the youth and everyone, all men, women, everyone who needs access to reproductive health care, they can make these decisions for themselves.
And I think that's key. Like you said, Kiana, as Juliana mentioned, you've been doing the IG lives and trying to get this information out there. When you say, hey, later on today or in a couple of days, we're going live on IG, how do you kind of formulate how you want to attack this, so to speak?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people know my face. I'm on like Instagram almost every week. So it's really nice to have everyone else here with me. I'm in the
Bit of an influencer over here. Okay, excuse me.
I know. I wish, oh my gosh. But so the way we formulate Famalaoan Talks is, well, for March, we started in March, it was Women's Month. So we wanted to do everything women. We talked about things like abortion, the ACLU lawsuit. This month is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So last week, we talked about, the numbers about sexual assault, consent and things like that. And we really like to present facts and then also explain how, you know, when you look at the facts, it's really some of the highest sexual assault numbers. When you realize that, a 12-year-old girl was sexually assaulted and impregnated in 2019, it's really hard to rebuke these facts. And I think when people hear these things and when you make it personal, when you make it local, when you know that it's happening here, because that's a lot of the conversation is, oh, but that stuff doesn't happen here, but it's so real here. It is incredibly real here. And so that's how we present our information to the public when we do our Instagram lives.
And that's the whole goal of your Instagram, your social media is Famalaoan Rights. I highly recommend people going and following, taking part. Even if you're an opponent of this for whatever reason, join the discussion, because as we said here, what we're doing now is having that discussion and informing people. This is our goal. This is not, you need to believe what we believe. That's not the case. This is just arming people with information. And Stephanie, let's go ahead and talk to you. As a young lady, what do you think other girls out there need to know about reproductive rights? And you're trying to get the word out there.
I think the most important thing is that, these young girls know what their choices are. The best thing that we can do is just give them the educational tools, give them the numbers, so that way they can make the best decision that's for themselves. Guam has a very high rate of teen pregnancy. And so if we can give our youth to empower our youth with these resources, so that way they can make the best decision for them. So that way, every family is different, every situation is different. And so, of course, just empowering our youth to make the decision best for them.
That's key, I think, is making the right decision. Once you have the information, making the proper decision. You're not trying to say that every pregnant woman out there, go get an abortion, or, if you're young and single, you have to use contraception. These are personal choices. And I think the thing that really got me about this issue is just that not giving someone the ability to have the power over their own body was just kind of, mind-blowing. I wouldn't want someone telling me what to do with my body. So I think that's the issue that you're dealing with here. You're not trying to force any of these things on people. You just want them to have the power to be able to arm themselves with information and make the decisions that are appropriate for them. What works for me might not work for you. Obviously, we're all pretty different. So just recognizing that individuals are going to be in different circumstances, different, priorities in life. I think that's key in being able to make those decisions. Ha'ani, we haven't talked to you yet. How did you get involved in this movement, and why is it so important to you?
Hi, Andy. I'm sorry if you hear background music. I'm at a coffee shop right now, but yeah. So for me, I got involved in this movement because actually I'm an Indigenous politics PhD student at UH Manoa, and I find that personally for me, not the group itself, but I am self-determination, like pro people have a right to their political status, and I see that there's huge parallels and like a big there's something that we can draw from self-determination as a people and self-determination of your body and bodily autonomy. So I think they're both very intimately related. And of course, as women, I see how much I love my family and the women in my family and my good friends. I went to academy, so I'm surrounded by powerful women, and not only in my network, but in this group and in my culture too. So what are we going to leave for future generations of women, and not just women, as everyone else reiterated, but of those just seeking reproductive rights accessibility? Because I think when we put abortion at the forefront, we often forget that there's so many other things that are tied to reproductive rights and reproductive health care that just go beyond this conversation of abortion. So I think that's kind of too where the confusion is, and there's like a lot of distraction tactics with that. But that's kind of how I got involved too. And this group is so awesome. We have really empowering conversations every week in our meeting and just in our WhatsApp chat. So it's really empowering to see and just be with these women as well.
Well, it's a great movement, and it seems as though it's growing. I mean, we have the 5 of you here, but how many members, followers are you guys looking at right now?
Man, honestly, it's so insane, right? I think we're just shy of like almost 1,500 followers. We have a very small team at the moment because we're still figuring out how to expand membership and things like that. We're planning on sending out like newsletters to people who want to be members. But honestly, the growth has been so crazy. Like when we had the talk with the Magahaga, Governor Lilian Guerrero, it was just a shot in the dark for us to say, oh, maybe we should just email her to see if she wants to be a guest. Like, it's okay if she says no, we're just this small group, nobody knows us. And then all of a sudden, there's so many people in the background coming forward and, expressing their support for reproductive justice and reproductive rights. And it's so awesome to see.
I think that speaks to how important this is for women and men on the island, that, you just gain a little bit of traction and people are like, you know what, I fully support this. You get behind it, and seeing it grow like this is obviously a good indication. And we talked a little bit about getting the information out there to the public, people that want to join the movement, people that are opponents of the movement, and, little girls taking ownership of yourselves, your body, making those good choices. But right now, I am a man. So do you have this conversation with a lot of men, and how do you approach that? Because not everyone shares my view that, don't have a uterus, don't have a decision on, don't have an opinion on it. So how do you approach this conversation with men that are, staunch supporters of the pro-life movement, not trying to sway them or change their minds, maybe just giving them that information? How do you even start that conversation? Anyone that wants to chime in, feel free.
I'm going to start this because there was an article recently in the Guam Post that I wrote, and there was a man who commented that was right next to our article, and he very politely, he had a good point. He was like, does a baby have a right to life, Miss Baza? And I said, well, sir, we at Famalaoan Rights, we believe that decision is up to the woman. And if the man that helped conceive that child wants to be part of that decision, then it's up to him to engage with the woman that they conceived. And, hopefully he respectfully says his opinion, but ultimately it is up to her because it is within her body. Now, where we get that is it's coming from a lot of different places. Ancient Chamorro women had bodily autonomy. And even in the United States, with the Roe v. Wade, that law protects women's bodily autonomy. When the child is inside the woman's body, that is her domain. She gets to decide what happens within her body. Once the child is outside of her body, now it is a citizen of the world, and it's the laws apply to the child. So as long as the child, she gets to say what goes on inside her body. So when, we talk to men or any pro-life proponent, we just want to ask them, that might be your belief, but don't try to put your belief on me or anyone else that doesn't believe what you believe. It comes down to like that coexist in different religions and different beliefs, Republicans versus Democrats. We just had a very contentious election. How can we coexist and let each other believe what we want to believe? And, I agree to disagree with you. I respect your opinion, but let me have mine. So that's kind of what we want, is like, I'm going to respect your opinion. Can you please respect mine and let me go my way and make my own decision? That's kind of.
I've learned anything from social media is that if we have differing opinions, we're supposed to hate each other, Juliana. Come on, get on board.
Oh, well,
Can
you know,
I-
that's.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
Just wanted
Harmony.
to add. I wanted to add to what Juliana was saying. So, Kiana and I were just on a podcast 2 weeks ago with Dr. Bebakwa and another student named Ed. I forget his last name, but they were asking us, as men, as Chamorro men specifically, what can they do to support our movement, but also just engage in this conversation. And then for me personally, I think silence is very harmful. Just taking a back seat and not saying anything or not even learning about what's happening is, just to be silent is not okay. But I think a lot of men or others who are not necessarily engaged with the movement feel that they can't say anything about it. But I would say, first educate yourself and then learn more about it. And if that still is kind of, you don't know if you're going to be vocal about it, be a silent supporter and support our group in different ways, like share our posts, donate if you can, just learning. So I don't think necessarily not saying anything is a good thing, but just being informed on what's going on is really important for men here locally, and then even other folks who just don't feel that they are ready to vocalize their opinions yet.
Yeah, and that's key. We've talked about it. What your whole mission here is to get information out to people so they make the decisions that are appropriate to them. You're not saying, okay, this is what we've decided. Everyone has to make this decision. It's just arm yourself with information. Men, you too, don't be a deadbeat. If you get someone pregnant, you need to man up. You need to figure it out, whatever that decision may be. You need to be invested one way or the other. So as long as you have the information, that's key. And your group, it's gaining traction, gaining followers. Obviously, you've got support throughout the community, but not everyone supports the movement. So your opponents, we've seen there be protests and very outspoken, very vocal. So do you really focus on what the opponents are saying, or do you just kind of, this is our thing, we're not trying to tell you how to live your life, but we're just focusing on us? Is that kind of the way you're looking at it?
So in terms of that, I just want to say that we do acknowledge that, they have their own sense of beliefs. They have their own religious ideologies that they want to follow, or, what they believe that they want to do with their families or, within their communities. But really what it is, we do see what they put out there and we want to acknowledge it. And, when we come across something that's inappropriate or we feel that, crosses a line and exerts, and it goes to a point where they're exerting their beliefs onto others when, obviously there's a line that you shouldn't, go across, right? That's when we kind of like try to take like a more different approach and like figuring out like how do we best respond to this in a more informed and be more informed about it. We don't want to respond recklessly and just because we believe on one thing over the other, but more so like we want to add facts, we want to add scientific database driven responses. And for example, in our Instagram posts, like there would be some comments that are wildly inappropriate or that are questioning like the woman rather than supporting the woman in their decision. And that's where we draw the line and say, there are some things that we would respond to, or there are some things that we would acknowledge. And, I guess that's just my input and like what I think we've been doing. Anyone can just chime in on.
Yeah, no, if I could just add on to that. The issue is obviously not with the pro-life belief itself, but the moment that belief again is exerted on someone else, the moment that you take something away from someone else because of your belief, that is where we have to step in. Like if you're rallying in front of an abortion clinic and you're harassing the people coming out, if you're rallying for government policies that inhibit the options that women can have, that's when we have to take a firmer stance on things, right? So the issue isn't with the belief itself, it's the acting on the beliefs.
Yeah, it's how you treat other people, how you, respect their opinions, their beliefs, which I'm sure you all have a good respect for everyone's beliefs, but you don't share them, and that's perfectly okay. So, in any social issue, thing, we see this all the time, is the extremists on either side can take things way too far. Even on, the pro-choice side, some of them can be pretty aggressive, and that turns people off. So if someone is kind of on the fence and they run into one of these extremists, that's going to push them, to the other side. And it goes both ways. So just kind of finding yourself, giving the information out there, like you said, Maria, just the facts. You're giving them facts. You can't debate objective truths. So that's part of the battle. And it's such a passionate issue that I'm sure there are times where you want to go, I'm going to create a burner account and let this person have it. But when you're representing the Famalaoan Rights movement, you're just like, hey, that's not what we're about. We're not some radical terrorist organization. We're just trying to get the information out there. So you've got a lot of work cut out, obviously. And what's next for the organization? Do you have anything planned? I know as it grows, getting more members, getting more people information. What's next for you guys?
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, so some of the goals, aside from fair reproductive access for, kind of everyone on Guam, but essentially we want to work towards, of course, education, getting some legislation passed to protect some of these rights. And then ultimately, our goal is to have a clinic or a place that provides reproductive services on Guam. So I think that's our long-term goal that we are really trying to work for in this group. And yeah, it's
safely and legally. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That choice
Safely,
to be there
legally,
if needed.
all accessible. Yes, definitely.
All right. Anyone else? What are your goals for the group or personally?
Go ahead, Kiana.
I know you all want to jump in.
I was like, I think Juliana has something to say because I don't know if I should say it, but definitely go for it.
Oh, we were just having a clinic it's like our star in the sky. And, that's the whole point of the clinic is no matter your religious belief, no matter your sexual orientation, it is a place for all to go for whatever they need. And I just wanted to chime in before we talked about, goals. It was something to add on the subject before. It's the pro-choice movement is not pro-abortion. It's pro the woman choosing whatever she wants to do. So it's pro-choice is empowering the woman. We want to give the woman all the facts, all the education. We don't want to give her super biased education, and we don't want to force anything on her. If she is Muslim or Christian or Catholic or Jewish, whatever she believes, or she's atheist, we don't want to force her to believe what we believe. What we personally, us five, believe is it's up to her. And so that was just what I wanted to add. It's not pro-abortion, it's pro the woman choosing. That's why it's called pro-choice.
Exactly, pro-choice.
It's not always very clear, so I wanted to make sure.
No.
Ahead,
Kiana?
Yeah, no, honestly, this growth, firstly, has been so exponential. Honestly, when we first started, Maria came to me in 2019, it was just an idea. And then we had our first meeting in January, and we were like, oh, maybe if we just get like 1,000 followers by the end of 2021, we'd be cool. And it's just growing so exponentially. And I don't know if I can publicly say what we have planned yet, but we have a lot of things coming up, like for our organization to grow. And grow beyond just being, mostly using our Instagram as our platform. So yes.
Well, however the word gets out there, you need to keep on doing it. If that grows to another platform, so be it. Ha'ani, Maria, anything to add before we wrap things up?
Andy, again, I just want to say thank you so much for giving us the platform, the time to, do this interview. And I think before we want to wrap up, I just want to acknowledge the recent developments of the ACLU versus Government of Guam lawsuit. Because the District Court Magistrate Judge Heather Kennedy stated that the doctors in the ACLU law case have not sufficiently shown the Guam laws regarding saying that Guam laws are not unduly burdening a woman's constitutional right to an abortion. On the news, on the Guam Post, it stated that, ACLU is experiencing a setback, right? And, it was a bit disheartening when Juliana was actually the one that shared it with us from the post, and it kind of, honestly, it kind of made me a bit sad about the whole situation, right? And, you know, for me, a setback, it does not mean that the fight is over. And from my perspective, I do believe that it's appropriate to reemphasize the fact that, you know, the obstacles of women and girls having to go through already, you know, to get an abortion, you know, from Guam, from my perspective, is an undue burden. And, you know, we do not have the appropriate resources for people to make personal and private decisions for their bodies on Guam. And I believe that's like a really big issue here. And, you know, we can talk about the language of the law, like it's stated in the article, and all the loopholes that have been and continue to be exploited for the purpose of controlling a person's bodily autonomy. But the bottom line is that we have individuals, and, you know, from my perspective, okay, not talking on behalf of the organization, you know, maybe they agree with me, that, you know, we do have individuals in power that actively choose to exert their personal and religious belief onto others through legislation that dictates a woman's right to choose what is best for themselves, their bodies, and their life. And that is what's happening here, right? So for me, claiming to be an advocate for women's rights, but not respecting a woman's decision to make choices for their own body is an injustice, and it reeks of hypocrisy to me. And, you know, regarding next steps, I believe for our organization, we do want to be more active advocates and active allies with the ACLU in this fight for reproductive freedom. And so I want to leave it at that for me. Sorry, I got a little passionate there, but
Hey, that's what it's all about. Every movement worth getting involved in has setbacks at some point. And what we usually see is it just lights the fire. And it gets you say, hey, I've got more work to do, time to sharpen the pencils and get to it. So you're going to get out there, you're going to keep on doing what you're doing. So I think it's great that you're passionate about it. You wouldn't be involved in this if you weren't. So I can tell that you're all very passionate about it. And it's something that obviously people need to know about, at least arm themselves with information. As you've all said, make the decision that's appropriate to you, as long as you have all the appropriate information. I want to thank you all so very much for joining me, educating me. You know, as a man, we need to have this talk. So I appreciate that. And if people do want to get involved in the movement, they want to read up more, where can they go virtually?
You can follow us on Instagram at Famalaoan Rights, on Twitter at Famalaoan Rights, no S. On Instagram, we have a link in our bio to our link tree. We have membership applications out. You can scroll through our feed, get informed. We have a website. Check out all the resources that I've cited on Famalaoan Talks. Watch Famalaoan Talks. We have one on Monday at 7. Check it out. Or I guess this is going to be aired on Monday, right? So check it out. Check all of them out. And we hope to hear from all of you very, very soon.
Well, I hope to keep appraised of the movement and how things are going. So if you need anything, please let me know. We'll help get the word out. Ladies, thank you so much for your talk and keep doing your great work.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, thank you all. And that's the episode, pretty important one. So time to have that conversation. I want to thank you all for watching.